will focus on quality and quality standards, quality in translation and quality standards. I was asked by Renato Beninato to present something from the point of view of a contrarian, as this is exactly the way I've been known for years in the translation industry. So I don't expect you to agree with my views, my opinions, but the presentation will be structured in such a way to leave as much as space as possible for questions and answers at the end of the presentations. The actual presentation will last about 30 minutes, and then we could have the time to discuss and possibly get into details on quality standards. The paper relevant to the presentation is available on lulu.com, and a paperback and ebook format, and the and both versions include two sections, one on building a localization kit, guidelines for assembling localization kit, where localization is not really software localization, but in the broadest sense that is now seen in the translation industry. And the other section is on developing translation requirements that could be used as a reference for tendering and offers, and to build a useful relationship with customers without much too often not really akin with specifying requirements. My position on quality is mostly known for those of you who have read my papers, who followed my tweets and my blog posts and so on and so forth. But anyway, I expect you to listen to something that is not common to the ordinary view about quality in translation. I don't expect you to be scared, but if it's so, never mind. We have time at the end of the presentation to discuss all issues. What we will start today by I will start by stating something that could hurt you, and this is my basic statement about quality. Quality is irrelevant in every industry, and especially in the translation industry. I know we are much too few to make a survey, but how many of you are selling their services with quality as a selling proposition? 1, 2, 3, any more? This is why quality is irrelevant, because the customer expects quality. So if everybody are selling quality, quality becomes irrelevant and makes you undistinguishable, each one from the other. Again, quality is irrelevant, not unimportant. It's irrelevant. It's not relevant. It's not pertinent with your core business. The second problem with quality in translation is that quality is extremely subjective in translation. There is actually no standard measurement framework to measure quality and have your customer understand what quality means. That is equal, that is the same on your side and on the customer's side. This is probably why translation standard mostly pertains to process standards. And this is mostly why the most common and famous standard in translation, which is the European standard 15038, is so controversial. I took part in the task force on account of the Italian Association of Translators and Interpreters for the Italian delegation for the drafting of the European standards. And I remember quite well that one of the most debated questions during the meeting was that the translation industry was so specific that no standard whatsoever, although universal, could be could fit to the translation industry. But actually was what emerged on the end of the road in drafting the standard was that ISO 9000 was considered much too costly for the translation industry to implement. I'm trying to counter this argument and show you that ISO 9000 still remain the only viable solution for quality in the sense of process quality from the point of view of process approach. This is to show that what I said so far is here to show that show you that quality is like a life vest for the translation industry, because the translation industry is quite lazy industry. It's conservative and almost ordinary at least in the selling approach. So quality is considered like a life vest, and everyone is since everyone is selling quality, and there's no way to distinguish one company from another when both are selling quality. This life vest could have the same effect that on than the real life vest on airplane. How many of you have to wear a life vest in your life on an airplane? I hope no one of you. Okay, but has any one of you ever unpacked a life vest to know what it is? Okay, the life vest you can find under your seat on an airplane is the same life vest that war fighters, the pilot, fighter pilots wear still today, a bit differently on their flight suit, but it's the very same life vest that the same pilot wore during World War II. I don't know if how many of you are familiar with Ba 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 Black Sheep. Was a TV series on a famous U.S. Marine Corps Flight Squadron in the Philippines during World War II. It was Black Sheep because the commander of this squadron collected all a sort of black sheep from several other squadrons of the U.S. Marine Corps. Was VMF 124, and in the TV series, this life vest is always shown exactly the same way it is today on the airplane. The life vest used for the TV series was exactly the same life vest of the airplanes. This is why I use this parallel to explain why quality is not a safe vest as life vest could resemble in meaning. The second problem with selling quality, as with everyone selling quality in the translation industry, is information asymmetry. In let me see my notes. In 1970, a Nobel laureate in economics wrote a paper titled "Market for Lemons." Okay, lemons in the American slang are the used cars. And so, market for lemons means why are you giving away your used car if it is okay? And only bad used cars are sold by used car sellers. And the problem with used cars that they are all sold on the same assumption of quality. Used car sellers are selling used cars based on quality. But they are counting on a basic principle on information asymmetry. Their customers knows nothing about the cars they are buying. And in translation industry, it's exactly the same. The customers are mostly knowing nothing about the translation they are buying. This could be explained also because of the typical business model of this industry, with so many intermediators in on the market, and these mediators usually are buying translation from translators, from freelancers, and selling this translation to their customers. Mostly mediators know very little of the translation they are buying, and their customers know even less about the translation they are buying from their vendors. This problem with information asymmetries leads to another problem that I suppose many of you, like me, are reading about in the on the blogs or Twitter, on Facebook, and so on. And this problem is called commodification or commoditization, meaning that translation is becoming a commodity. One problem with this commodification is exactly that all translations are becoming undistinguishable, the one from the other. So the only element of competition is becoming price. So quality in translation industry and quality and certification to quality standards has has been seen as a way to distinguish from other vendors, from other translation companies. But when it comes to commodification and to price competition, an old adage, an old statement becomes much stronger than ever. It is the so-called Gresham's law. Bad money drives out good. That is, the bad drives out the good. And so bad resources, bad translators, are driving out good resources, good translators. Bad software is driving out good software, and so on and so forth. Because the only competitors who are capable of sustaining price competitions are those who are willing to work in a very hard industry and hiring low profile translators. So the gap between the lower layer of the market and the upper and the higher level of the market is widening every day. Commodity, coffee is a commodity, sugar is a commodity, and can you tell me another kind of commodity? Wheat and petrol or gas, as you like. But even cars are today a commodity. Okay, so which is the difference between a Smart and a Mercedes Class A? So every kind of product on a global market is becoming undistinguishable from the other. That's why we need measures and measurement to distinguish one product from another if we want to define quality. But no quality standards so far as approaching measurement in a comprehensive way. The best, the full-fledged process quality standards are actually process standards, like the ISO 9000. Okay, why we need measures? The first ones to feel the problem with measure was the Egyptian when building the pyramids. They have the duty to meet quality expectations imposed by the pharaohs. So they decided to produce blocks of stone exactly the same. Okay, but they needed a measurement system to produce exactly equal stone blocks to build their pyramids. And why, in your opinion, why I used this picture to introduce measurement? Time is a philosophical subject, but to cope with time, over the time we have only one way, and that's measure not time as a philosophical concept, but measure ranges. Okay, measure time as ranges, as blocks. The same as for pyramids, and more or less the same as the one of the most typical standards today, which is pallet. Pallet were introduced after World War II because the US Army experienced problems with moving goods, and so they decided to standardize supports for transportations, for moving. And pallets are a key element in today's globalization. Another standard, extremely highly standardized element the product are French fries. Have you ever taken a lunch at McDonald's? McDonald's French fries taste the same in Milan, in Budapest, in New York, London, Madrid, because they are standardized. Not the potato they are made of, but the process that is behind the preparation of French fries. Procedures, the way potatoes are sliced, and the way sliced, fried and prepared, and so on and so forth. One detail I saw on the procedure manual, something like this, for McDonald's French fries, is that the oil used to fry potatoes must be changed every 1 hour and 1.5 hours, if I can remember. Even if it is not used to fry anymore, potatoes cannot be stored for more than 1 day. And again, any package of French fries can be delivered to customers in a 15 minutes time maximum. This is what standards are all about. So, quality standards are regulation to have people around the world agree on common frameworks and criteria and procedures with respect to their job. This is why universal quality standards like the ISO 9000 could perform quite good even for the translation industry. But it's, for the same reason, they can be a little bit costly in respect to a specific standard. But in your opinion, your customer will be more impressed if you are certified to ISO 9000 or EN 15038. There's no answer, because a recent study of IDC showed that actually quality certification has no impact on the perception, on customers' perception of quality of their vendors. So, looking for certification for ISO 9000 or for EN 15038 is perfectly the same and is mostly useless. from a marketing point of view. Like the life vest on the airplane, ISO 9000 came from World War II. The first common standards of today all came from military requirements. In World War I and World War II, great problems exist with ammunition. In World War I, the main problem was due to differences in defining an inch. I mean, today 1 inch is 1 inch. Okay, 2 centimeter, 54 millimeters. But in World War II, ammunition vendors differ on the definition of an inch, and ammunitions differ, even though they were almost the same quality, produced with the same stuff, made with the same stuff, following the same procedures, and so on. During World War II, the U.S. Army experienced problem with explosion in ammunitions because production were scattered all over the country, and manufacturing procedures were mostly different. So, what's quality for? From a marketing point of view, quality certification is useless. But from the same marketing point of view, quality could be useful if you look at customer satisfaction. Today, the common core of quality principle is corresponding to meeting requirements. So, meeting client expectations. But an happy client like this, you know, it's has no interest in quality certification. An happy customer is happy because you are meeting his or her expectations. One of the arguments against quality and ISO 9000 quality certification, ISO 9000 in particular, was cost. Well, in the common core of quality principle, quality as a cost for not producing, not giving quality, is the absence of quality having a cost, not the cost of pursuing quality. And this cost is of two types: cost of control and cost of failure of control. In the first group, we have prevention costs and appraisal costs. In the second group, failure costs, internal and external. Leaving for a moment apart the second group, just focus on the first group. Can you tell me which is the area of cost for translation companies? We can experience the highest costs in detecting defects. The problem with quality in translation, with a common view of quality in translation, comes from detecting defects. Inspections, tests, auditing. Should have the here. Test and inspection of purchased materials. Translation from translation vendors. Okay? Acceptance testing. Review the translation, the incoming translation. Okay? Possibly on samples. Inspection. Second passage in review. Testing. Proofread. So all this is checking labor. Okay? But there are costs even for setup this kind of labor. Okay? And for implementing equipment for testing and inspection. And if the translation is rejected, we shift in this second area, even though we run all the inspections, tests, and auditing we have envisaged.